Hello everyone, I am so happy to see you again. It's chilly outside, so I think today is a very good day to tackle some of the household projects that I've been putting off. We need to clean out and organize the freezer. We need to process this homegrown garlic and polish the silver teapot. But before we do anything, I want to make a chocolate loaf cake. We can enjoy the cake with coffee or tea later this afternoon. So please hang out with me. I think it will be a fun day. This chocolate loaf cake recipe comes from a website called Pastry and Beyond. And the first thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. Then I need to grease and line an 8 by 4 inch loaf pan. We'll set this aside for a moment. Now, I like this recipe because it does not involve an electric mixer. We can do everything by hand. The ingredients are given by weight, which is no problem because I have a scale right here. We need 140 grams of flour. That's about 1 cup of flour scooped and leveled. Then we need 50 grams or a half cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Zero this out. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1/8 teaspoon of salt. That's just a pinch of salt. And we need to whisk these ingredients. I probably should have sifted my cocoa powder because it was a bit clumpy, but I think the whisk will break it up enough. And then we can set this aside. Then in a medium bowl, we need to add 2 large eggs, and 210 grams of granulated sugar. That's about 1 cup of sugar. And whisk. Then I need to add 135 grams of melted butter. That's a little more than a half cup of butter. $120 grams or a half cup of milk, and the milk should be at room temperature. 1.5 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, and 60 grams or a 1/4 cup of hot water. I'm going to turn my hot water into coffee by adding a little bit of espresso powder. Coffee and chocolate always go very well together. Mixy, mixy. Now, I will post this recipe in the description below, so you don't have to write anything down. Oh, that coffee smells wonderful in here. Now we can add the wet ingredients to the dry and just mix them together. And then we can pour this right into the prepared loaf pan. Knock out any air bubbles. Then we can pop this into the oven until a skewer inserted into the center of the cake comes out mostly clean. The recipe writer says 39 minutes. That's an unusual time, I know. I'm used to 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, never 39 minutes. But I'm going to follow the recipe as written. And I'm going to clean up my workstation, and then while the cake is baking, we can get cracking on the freezer. We purchased this freezer in the summer of 2020 during the height of the pandemic. It is a frost-free appliance with a capacity of 21.3 cubic feet. The freezer allows me to store all of my home-cooked freezer meals, plus bulk purchases of meats, puff pastry, and other perishables. I also store my garden produce there, plus certain baking supplies. To bring order to this freezer chaos, I am removing every item from it. And I am trying to work quickly so that the food does not thaw. I don't want anything to thaw, so I'm going to very quickly go through all of the contents of the freezer that we just removed, and I will decide what to keep and what to toss. To help me stay organized, I've consolidated all of my breads, both store-bought and homemade, in a bag, and this bag can go right in the freezer. Then I'm going to put all of my self-rising flours, I have a lot, in another bag. And I have buckwheat flour here. Yeah, so all of my flours will remain in a bag in the freezer. I am also taking this time to refill my pantry containers with the sugar and flour that I was previously storing in the freezer. I recently purchased huge, airtight food-grade buckets. Now I can store my flour and sugar in the buckets, not the freezer. Now we can wipe down the freezer's shelves, walls, and door. We need to work as quickly as possible so that the freezer doesn't become too warm. My cake actually required 55 minutes to bake. It feels great to have that freezer organized, and my whole kitchen smells of chocolate right now. That's not a bad thing. So this cake turned out beautifully. I'm going to unmold it and let it cool to room temperature. And then I think I will take some of the dark chocolate dollops that we had in the freezer and use them to make a chocolate ganache for the cake. Meantime, now that there is room in the freezer, we can tackle the garlic. I have just been outside trimming the roots on this homegrown garlic, and then I gave the garlic a good rinse. So now we have a fun job ahead of us. I need to break open the heads and smash the garlic to peel them. I will put the individual cloves in this colander, and any waste I will put in this bowl. I don't think there's any easy way to peel garlic. This is the garlic that you and I planted together 1 year ago and that we harvested in I think, late July or early August. And then I set the garlic to cure in the garden shed. So it's been there for, well over a month. Curing simply means that you set the garlic in a warm, well-ventilated location until the papery skins develop. That way the garlic will store for a longer time. Of course, this is hard nut garlic, which doesn't store as long as soft nut garlic. But the cloves are larger, plus you get the benefit of garlic scapes. And I turn the garlic scapes into garlic scape pesto. As a matter of fact, garlic scape pesto makes my life worth living. Peeling all of this homegrown garlic took me a full hour and a half, but the project was worth the effort. As you will see in my next video, I have already begun to use the garlic pucks in various cooking projects. The pucks are very convenient to have on hand. Last one. Well, that took a hot minute. I'm going to clean up my mess here, and then we can start processing the garlic. We are ready to process this garlic, and I'm going to use my food processor. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to turn this garlic into little cubes or rounds or what some people call pucks. And to make the garlic hold together, I will add some avocado oil. Just want to make sure that the garlic pieces will hold together, and yes, they will. Okay, so that didn't take much oil at all. After all of this effort, I am so not going to waste any of this chopped garlic. I'm going to scrape every little bit of it out of this food processor bowl. And each one, I'm guessing, is the equivalent of 2 or maybe even 3 cloves of fresh garlic. I'm going to pop these into the freezer, flash freeze them, and then I will transfer them to Ziploc bags. And then, whenever I need fresh garlic, I can just grab one of these rounds and pop it into the sauce or the hummus or whatever I'm cooking. Our cake has completely cooled, and we are going to dress it up with chocolate ganache. So I have a half cup of these dark chocolate chips, some of which are going into the cup. And then I need an equal amount, a half cup, of heavy cream. I'm going to heat the cream in the microwave just until it's scalded. And here is my hot cream. I should mention that this is 125 grams, and the half cup of chocolate is about 100 grams. And I can pour the chocolate into the cream, and we're just going to let the chocolate sit until it melts. Chocolate has melted, and I'm just giving it a whisk. The chocolate ganache has turned very dark and very smooth. We need to let this sit until it at least approaches room temperature before we can pour it over the cake. And to stay productive, we're going to polish some copper. Many viewers have asked me to explain how I clean and polish my copper pots. I only have a small collection of copper, and you can probably see which one I use the most. It's this saucepan here. I'm going to clean this up with nothing more than hot water and barkeeper's friend. This French copper polished up just beautifully. Copper is great for cooking because it conducts heat very evenly. And now that the copper is cleaned up, let's move on to this 19th century silver teapot. At the last minute, I decided that I should also polish my coffee pot, cream pitcher, and the silver tray on which they reside when not in use. When compared to peeling a million cloves of garlic, polishing sterling silver seems a rather pleasant job. And I do enjoy the look of sparkling silver. I'm going to wash everything at the kitchen sink, and then I will come right back. We are all rinsed and washed inside and out, so now all I have to do is buff the silver. And I think the silver turned out just beautifully. May we all look this well when we reach the age of this silver. We certainly are accomplishing a lot today, and I really appreciate your company. So our chocolate ganache has turned quite thick, but it's still pourable. And on it goes. Okay, I'm going to let this chocolate ganache set up. Meantime, let me show you what arrived in the mail this morning. Seed garlic that I bought from Johnny's Seeds. Let's see if the variety is listed here. Yes, German extra hardy. Now today is October 8th. I think it's the 8th. And this is the proper time in my region to plant garlic outside. As if I need to deal with more garlic right now. It's very beautiful. It has a purple hue. So in the next episode, weather permitting, we will break open these heads, separate the cloves, and plant them out in the garden. Speaking of garlic, I think our pucks are fully frozen by now. Let's have a look. Yes, we are solidly frozen here. So I am going to transfer these little garlic pieces to Ziploc bags. And these will be very convenient to use because, as I mentioned earlier, anytime I want garlic for a sauce or a soup or even for hummus, I can just reach into one of these bags, pull out a puck or two, and add them to whatever I'm making. And I will admit, this was a lot of work. But we grew that garlic. We planted the garlic, we tended the garlic, we fertilized the garlic, we harvested the garlic. So If I had left the bulbs in my garden shed, eventually they would just sprout and then I wouldn't want to use them. So by processing the garlic as we did and freezing it this way, all of our efforts will have been worth it. I do not cook with garlic every single day, so these 44 garlic pucks will probably last me for quite a long time. I'm going to pop these into the freezer. I decided that we should have coffee with this gorgeous creature. I can't wait to have a taste of it. This cake is super moist, super chocolatey, and super delicious. Again, I will post the printable recipe for this cake in the description box below. It's a really easy cake to make. And thank you so much for spending time with me today as we cleaned and organized the freezer. I am so glad to have that job out of the way. And we processed all of that homegrown garlic. Now, you will see me use those little garlic pucks in future episodes. And we polished some copper, and we polished some silver. And of course, we made this terrific cake. We do a lot of cooking and baking and gardening and decorating on this channel. So if you have not yet subscribed, I hope you will do so. And be sure to tap the little bell icon so that you can receive notifications every time I upload a new episode. Please take very good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next episode, which will be on Sunday. Bye for now, friends.